1993's Jurassic Park, Dennis Nedry, a computer programmer in charge of the main digital infrastructure for Jurassic Park, committed corporate espionage and stole dinosaur embryos from InGen for the rival company Biosyn. During his escape from the island, however, Nedry's Jeep got stuck, forcing him out of the vehicle and into the path of a young Dilophosaurus. While trying to avoid the dinosaur, Nedry dropped the embryos and ultimately failed to escape the jaws of the Dilophosaurus. But what if things had happened differently? What if Nedry's life was preserved and the park's power was restored? Make sure to like this video and subscribe to Dino Park Media if you like Jurassic Park and other dinosaur-related video content. And without further ado, let's examine if Nedry had survived the encounter with the Dilophosaurus in today's episode of If It Were Different. Nedry's Jeep sped down the soggy path toward what he thought was the east dock. The rain poured down, inhibiting Nedry's vision. He thinks he sees a sign for the dock. Taking his eyes off of the road, he doesn't see the fence and embankment ahead. He looked back to the road, but it was too late. The Jeep broke through the fence and lodged itself against a log, immobilizing it and keeping Nedry from his escape. Meanwhile, back at the visitor center, Hammond asked Muldoon to go and bring back his grandchildren from the T-Rex paddock. Muldoon said, "Sure," and walked out of the control room. "I'm going with him," Ellie said as she turned to follow Muldoon out of the door. Mr. Arnold tried to get Hammond's attention. John, I can't get Jurassic Park back online without Dennis Nedry." Hammond looked at the ground in defeat. "Wait," Hammond said. "Has the ship left?" "What?" Mr. Arnold asked, confused. "The ship. Has the staff ship departed from the island yet, Mr. Arnold?" Ray turned toward his computer and typed a command. Before the power went down, the boat had not yet left the dock. "No." "Why do you—" "Robert!" Hammond hobbled on his cane towards the door. Mr. Arnold tried stopping Hammond. "John, what are you—" But Hammond interrupted him and kept yelling down the hallway. Muldoon and Ellie ran back into the control room, almost out of breath from their sprint. "What happened?" Muldoon gasped. Hammond looked directly into Muldoon's eyes, a slight tinge of fire behind his expensive spectacles. "We need Dennis Nedry, and there's a chance he's still on the island. I need you to go get Dennis. And Mr. Arnold, you and Miss Sattler will go get my grandchildren." Ray obviously did not like this plan, but Muldoon was up for finding the rat Nedry. "I'll head towards the east dock." Ray tried to voice his displeasure with the plan. "John, are you sure?" Hammond turned to Ray with now sorrowful eyes. "I made the mistake of hiring Nedry, and now Nedry has endangered my grandchildren. I must make this right, Mr. Arnold. Now please, will you go get my grandchildren?" Ray hesitated. He looked up at Ellie, who was ready to leave. He looked back to Hammond, and he nodded. Hammond gave a half smile in relief. "Good. Now get to move on." Back at the embankment with the stuck Jeep, Nedry was trying to use the Jeep's tow cable to free it from the log when he heard a throaty cooing, almost like that of a large bird. Looking around, he saw nothing at first, but then realized he stood face to face with a small Dilophosaurus. He did not know the species, but he knew many species on the island were dangerous and tried not to upset this animal. After some unsuccessful attempts at making friends with the dinosaur, Nedry saw the animals in action and mistook it for disinterest. While moving back up the embankment towards the Jeep, the Dilophosaurus approached Nedry again, and this time opened its frill and hissed at the man before spitting venom on its prey. Fearing for his life, Nedry tried to move away from the dinosaur when he heard a loud blast ring out from the road above the Jeep. Nedry saw the Dilophosaurus drop before him and turned to see Muldoon at the broken fence, aiming a shotgun at the treacherous programmer. "Hey! I can explain!" Muldoon cocked a smile out of the corner of his mouth. "I'm not looking for an explanation. Get up here. You're coming with me to the control room." "And what if I don't want to?" Muldoon emptied the chamber of the shotgun and pumped it again for the desired sound. Nedry looked back at the dead dinosaur and reluctantly began to climb the slippery bank towards Muldoon. Both of the men got in the vehicle and sped back to the visitor center. Muldoon led Nedry into the control room where an anxious Hammond sat waiting. Once Hammond saw Nedry enter the room, his brow furrowed over his eyes as he gripped his cane with a fervor. "Dennis, how could you do this?" Nedry shrugged at the question. "If only you would have paid me more, John. I told you over and over again you either needed to pay me more or get more staff. Hammond's face wrinkled in rage. Do not get smart with me, Dennis. People's lives are at stake. My grandchildren's lives are at stake. And this is all because of you. Nedry's face was unmoved. All right, John, everything's my fault. Listen, I didn't make this place. You did. You made the monsters and then failed to properly pay the people who are supposed to keep them in check, Nedry said, almost like he had rehearsed these lines before. A new fire lit up in Hammond's eyes as he lifted his cane to strike the programmer when his hand was stopped by Muldoon. Wait! Muldoon yelled. This isn't helping anyone. We need to get the park running again. Nedry, can you get us online again? Nedry gave a sly grin, feeling he was untouchable because of his knowledge. Yeah, I can get the park online, but Whiteshirt here needs to promise he won't sick his lawyers on me after this, Nedry said, pointing at Hammond. You are not in a position to negotiate, you treacherous twit, Hammond seethed. Dennis let out a haughty laugh and motioned to the computers as if to say Hammond should do it himself then. Come on, old man, you need me. I want full immunity. And I want $100,000 to cover this traumatic experience, Nedry said while putting his hand out towards Hammond for him to shake it. And Crocodile Dundee here will be our witness. Hammond always had the upper hand in all of his dealings, but that moment he knew he needed Dennis Nedry, and Nedry was the only one who could bring the park back online. I'll tell you this, Dennis, Hammond said behind his teeth. I won't bring any legal action against you after this, but I know the serpent in which you serve will be most displeased with your failure, and there won't be anywhere you can go on this planet that will be able to keep you from the wrath of that master. Nedry's face went pale. He had forgotten about Dodgson and Biosyn. His hand went to the pocket in his coat. The canister was not there. He furiously patted his pockets, hoping to feel the hard surface of the shaving cream can, but it was useless. He had lost the one thing that made this all worth it. Nedry's eyes rose to meet Hammond's. Hammond knew he had gotten through to Nedry, though he didn't understand what the man was looking for. Listen, I can get the park running again, but I need you to promise that you can protect me, Nedry said with a panic in his voice. No, Dennis, Hammond replied. I only promise to protect you from my personal judgment. Anything else you need to handle on your own. Now, will you please fix the system? Nedry went to his desk and began typing commands into the computer. Hammond stood above him, hoping his presence would encourage the man to work even faster. The story continues with Hammond, Nedry, and Muldoon waiting in the control room, and Ellie, Ray, and Ian joining them soon after this interaction. Nedry gets the power back on in Jurassic Park, and Hammond sends Muldoon and Ellie back out the following morning to find Grant and the kids. Muldoon and Ellie use security camera footage to locate where Grant and the kids have been, and are able to retrieve them in a jeep. Everyone is together again, back in the control room. You've called the mainland, right? Grant asked as Hammond hugged his grandchildren. Of course. I have a helicopter coming straight away, Hammond said. One helicopter? Ellie asked. We won't all fit in that, will we? You will, Hammond said as he got up and walked over to Dr. Sattler. But Mr. Muldoon, Mr. Arnold, and myself will all remain here. We have a lot of cleaning up to do before we can get Jurassic Park operational again. Malcolm sat up. You want to what? Hammond turned to the wounded Malcolm, now bandaged and reclining to relax his leg. The past 24 hours have been a substantial setback, yes, but we can rebuild from here, and... Ellie cut off Hammond before he could finish. You aren't serious. A person has died. Ian almost lost his leg, and now you want to try and do this again? Now, Dr. Sattler, I understand it seems foolish, but when we have control again... Malcolm then took his turn to interrupt the Scottish billionaire. Listen, John, you've never had control. That's the thing about chaos. You can never assume to have control over beings that you've only studied in less than a decade. That's absurd. If history has shown us anything, it's that it repeats itself. And this piece of history will be no different. Hammond became agitated with Malcolm's remark. Ian, I know you enjoy showing off your form of science, but you're wrong. We are learning from our history. But this isn't about learning from history to grow, John, Grant chimed in. This is learning from your mistake to not make another one like it. These animals cannot coexist with humans. As the great minds fought over the validity of renewing the park, Nedry was typing vigorously on his computer. A command prompt flashed on his screen. Unlock Velociraptor paddock. Nedry hovered his mouse over the yes icon. He knew what he was about to do if he chose to go through with it. Nedry looked over his shoulder at Hammond fighting with the dinosaur experts. He knew he couldn't go back to Dodgson empty-handed. If he could only get back to the place where the Jeep crashed, he could find the canister and make a call off of the island for pickup. Nedry clicked the mouse. "Hey, Muldoon," Nedry said to the warden, still brandishing the shotgun. Muldoon looked over at the programmer. "Yeah, I got to go to the bathroom. It's been a tense evening, and I got to relieve my bladder. So, yeah, I just have to do that." Muldoon cocked his head. "You know I'm not going to leave you alone, right?" Nedry bit his lip. "Yes, but I just have to go. Can we go now? I feel like I'm about to spray." The warden showed his disgust for the comment, but got up to lead Nedry to the bathroom. As he waited for Nedry outside of the bathroom, Muldoon heard footsteps followed by sharp clicks echoing in the lobby of the visitor center. The warden raised his shotgun and cautiously made his way to the top of the stairs in the lobby. Muldoon looked down to find 3 velociraptors nosing around the bases of the fossil skeletons. The warden's eyes widened, and he quietly made his way back to the control room. Nedry opened the bathroom door and was pleased to be met with Muldoon gone. He left the bathroom and made his way towards the garage to find a Jeep. For Nedry, time was of the essence. Meanwhile, Muldoon ran to the control room to warn the others the raptors were free. "Everyone listen up. We need to make our way back to the emergency bunker." "Robert, what's happened?" Hammond asked. "Nedry's turned off the fences to the raptor paddock," Muldoon replied stoically. "And where is he now?" Muldoon gave a frustrated grunt before replying. "I left him in the restroom." Hammond turned back to the rest of the group. He was unhappy with Muldoon's loss of Nedry, but he had to keep his grandchildren safe. "All right, children. We need to follow Robert here. Do everything he says." Hammond looked up to Muldoon. "Get us out of here." "All right." Muldoon began walking to the back door. "Everyone stay close. Ray, you and Dr. Grant grab Malcolm. I'll stay close to you two with the gun because the raptors will smell the blood." A scream came from the first floor. Nedry had been found by the raptors. "All right, everyone move!" Muldoon snapped in a whisper. "Ellie on me. John and the kids in the middle. Everyone else in back." The group ran out the door, down the corridor, and toward the emergency exit. Muldoon opened the door slowly, checking the fire escape in the surrounding area. Deeming it clear, Muldoon led the group down the stairs and onto the ground behind the visitor center. Seeing the bunker door, Muldoon began to move to it when he heard the high-pitched scream of a raptor behind him. The warden turned just in time to see Ray fall under the weight of a velociraptor, sinking its claws into his back. Ray screamed in pain before abruptly being silenced by the raptor biting into his neck. Lex screamed as another raptor showed up between the group and the bunker door. Muldoon looked around and noticed the big one wasn't present. He knew it was a trap. The warden drew up the shotgun and fired a shot at the raptor in front of the group. It shuddered in pain, but only its shoulder was hit. At that moment, another raptor jumped from the bushes nearby and attacked Muldoon from the side. The man fell to the ground with the raptor's claws in his legs, but he was able to keep the raptor's teeth away from his face by forcing the shotgun between the beast's jaws. But the raptor was wearing him down. The other raptors cornered the remaining survivors and were about to pounce for the kill when heavy footsteps thundered in the forest nearby. The raptors looked up towards the noise to see the Tyrannosaurus Rex burst through the trees towards the raptors. The towering carnivore ran in and tried to clasp its jaws around the wounded velociraptor. The raptor, wrestling Muldoon, jumped off of the man and ran to assist her attack. She jumped on the Tyrannosaurus' back, biting and clawing any flesh that she could. The T-Rex wailed in pain and recoiled back, but as she stepped, her massive foot came down on the recovering Muldoon, killing him instantly. The rest of the survivors ran back towards the visitor center as the animals fought behind them, all except for Hammond. The kids screamed for their grandfather. "John, what are you doing?" Ellie yelled. "Listen to me. I created you. You must follow my command." Hammond yelled at the warring animals. "John, come on!" Ellie pleaded. "Ellie, we have to go!" Grant shouted as he continued to haul Malcolm on his shoulders. The remainder of the group escaped to the garage and got in a jeep, speeding toward the landing pad to meet the helicopter. But Hammond remained before the Battle of the Carnivores, shouting his insane remarks, expecting the animals to heed his words and fall under his subjugation. "I am your creator. I gave you life. Now cease! Hammond yelled. The T-Rex was able to grab the largest raptor between its teeth and then bite down to snap her back. It then threw the limp raptor carcass into the trees and proceeded to dispatch both of the remaining raptors easily before turning to the man in white. Hammond stared at the creature. You belong to me! I am the ruler of this island, not you! Now bow before me! The T-Rex clamped its jaws over the old man, cutting off his demands and tearing his body in two. The Rex swallowed her prize and let out a massive roar, asserting her rule over Isla Nublar. And that is our first episode of If It Were Different. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and remember to subscribe to Dino Park Media for more videos like this one, as well as other dinosaur content that comes out every Friday for your enjoyment.